to you all things from the wide world of sports. Can we use that term? I think we can until somebody tells us otherwise. And to discuss all things from the world of sport, I've got now conversation with Manny with those interruptions finally finished. But now we've got Shep back on the air. Shep, welcome back, man. How's it going?
Pretty good. I I was telling you in the break. I agree with your take about Denver, and
Yeah, man.
I'll add one quick comment about the 76ers. We always talk about process, and you do have to get the process right, but you also have to execute the process.
Yep.
If you make the wrong picks and the wrong coaching decisions, then
The
then you're
process just never
just
never
it doesn't matter.
completes. Yeah.
You never have the actual execution and the victories or
Yep.
even the challenging.
Yeah. I mean,
So
look, those guys, and that's a front office failure, right? I mean, that's
it
just what
is
it
because
is.
they didn't scout well. They didn't pick the right
They
guys.
had so
Um,
many picks.
yep, and they whiffed.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into this. Actually, I really want to, and I know this isn't really your sport. So there was a match going on, a cricket match in the PSL, the Pakistan Super League, um, and you've got. Uh, this is so frustrating um, because getting a century, getting 100 runs in a T20 match is very difficult, right? And you've got one of the greatest players of the last 10 years sitting on the precipice going into the last over, last six deliveries of the game, right? He was sitting at 97. He just needed three. Uh, so on that last delivery of the 20th over, Hardy, this young kid, had the strike. He needs to. So at the change of overs, the strike side flips. So the person who was facing the last delivery of the last over ends up flipping to the other guy who's not facing the delivery because in cricket you have two simultaneous batsmen on the field. So his job was to don't score a run. You've got plenty of runs in the bag. Just give the strike back to the guy who has a chance to get a century, who's 3 runs away. Instead, he takes a single. So now, when the flip happens, the same guy, Hardy, gets the strike back instead of Babar Azam, who needed those 3 runs to get the century. He starts this off with a six, which is the equivalent of a home run, which means he gets to keep the strike. So now you've got 5 deliveries left. And again, instead of taking a single, he scores 2 runs on the next one. Now you're down to 4 deliveries left. And, not giving the strike back. Luckily, on the third delivery, the ball gets away from the keeper and they get a non it's called a by run. Basically, the ball got by the keeper. So luckily, Babar Azam gets the strike back with 3 deliveries left and gets his century by scoring 2 on the very last delivery to actually get the century. But uh, this is I was sitting there watching it during the break and just getting frustrated because this is situational sports that needs to be taught at all levels in all sports, right? It's one of those so cricket is a lot like baseball, and there's this unwritten rule: when you've got somebody on the precipice of such greatness, your job is not to score runs, your job is to give them a chance to actually complete it, get it.
Well, I have a question. Did it matter who is ultimately going to win?
I mean, basically not, because they were sitting at
Okay.
240. And in a T20 match, generally 170 is a good score. In this PSL, 180 is a really good score. You touch 200 and you're like 98% assured that you're going to win. And they were at 240 already. So
Oh
it
wow.
absolutely did not matter. His job should have been at that point to give the strike to the dude to get his century, and just wasn't aware. And as I said, my frustration was not necessarily in the moment because yes, as a competitor,
Well, and this is, I'm about to reveal a lot of ignorance. Does the coaching staff have a part to play there in terms of letting their guy know what he should do?
yes, absolutely. But the coach communication to the player is even more limited than baseball in cricket, right?
Okay.
So this is cricket is a game that's a lot like what happens on the field is a lot the on the batsman, because at this point when you're batting you've just got two folks on the field and that's it. So they need to know, they need to have situational awareness. Now when the team is fielding, your captain is out there with the other 10 players and the captain does a lot of talking with the bowler, with the fielders, positioning them. But when you're batting, you're just kind of on the island with just the two of you, and the batsmen just need to know. But as I said, my frustration was, you see this in basketball, you see this in football, right? It's the not being aware of the situation, that for whatever reason it's, I don't know, we just don't seem to put the emphasis that's necessary, because you see over and over uh, failure of situational awareness resulting in games. You know, the most famous being Chris Webber and calling that
Yeah,
timeout
with the
in
yep.
in the championship. Now, a lot of time, the flip side of that, I think some of those, and I invoked Tom Brady earlier. Um, I have a deep dislike for him being a Buffalo Bills fan, right? I understand
Yeah.
that, but part of what
Dude was
makes him,
super aware.
yes, I think that's the thing. You know, you talk about the favoritism, the calls, all of that going his way, but he always was aware of the clock, of the situation, what's needed, where the first down marker is. Uh, that I think that's what separated him from everybody else. Situational awareness,
Look,
and
he was always on target, and he knew what he had to do, right? And that's, look, one of the reasons why he was so good is because he may not have always made the play he needed to make, but he knew what he had to do.
Yeah.
Right. Like he understood the situation. He understood everything that was going on, and look, that's why he was one of the greatest. I mean,
all right. So
wow.
situational awareness, bringing the conversation back to the NBA. I kind of talked about this with Manny, but I wanna bring your thoughts into the East playoffs, specifically about the Boston Celtics, and that's a team that just seems to have a lot of situational awareness. You know, even going back 2 years ago when they manhandled the Dallas Mavericks in the finals, it
Yeah, I mean,
was,
they
look,
beat the tar
they've
out of them.
they've had suffocating defense, but they decided in that first game, they decided they were going to mug Luka Doncic. And once they saw that that the refs were letting them get away with it, they absolutely grabbed a hold of it, pun intended, and ran with it. Right?
Yeah,
It got worse from game one to game two, from game two to game three, because they were like, okay, if they're letting us do this, and he's there, he's carried them, right? Luca had carried them to the playoffs, to the
yeah,
finals,
through the playoffs.
through the playoffs, yeah, against Minnesota, against OKC. So they were like, okay, if we can negate their only bullet, and the refs aren't going to stop us, we're absolutely going to take advantage of it. We're going to keep doing it until they stop us. So super situational awareness on these two teams that I've got picked playing in the finals. From the East, it's the Celtics. Do you see anything differently? Do you see Detroit doing anything differently? The Knicks possibly making noise, Cavaliers, or is it the
I,
Celtics?
I think the Celtics are better than the Pistons, and I don't know why I believe that as strongly as I do. I can't because the Pistons have there's a reason they have the best
Well,
record. Like they're the number one seed, right? I just feel like the Celtics I think they're only going to get better as the playoffs
yeah.
go on, and I think we've already seen the best of the Pistons. That's my suspicion.
So I think you're right, right? And you said you don't know why, but I think you do. It's the pedigree, it's the experience, it's the fact that you have a fully healed and a rested Jason Tatum.
Well,
And
look, that's one of my biggest beefs with the NBA. All right, and it's not that Tatum is rested; it's the fact that the season is so long and has such wear and tear that teams are trying to hide people's injuries so they can get them rest during the season. and because the season is such a grind, it's a really exhausting sport. Yeah, I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox. No one cares. The suits don't care, right?
Yep.
But
the suits are laughing all the way to the bank.
Yep.
But yes, I think that's the only reason. The fact that Tatum was missing for the first 2/3 of the season, or 3/4 of the season almost, is the only reason they're the 2 seed. Otherwise, they would be 1. And no disrespect to Detroit, what they've done is phenomenal. This is a quick turnaround that they've had with the rise of Cade Cunningham and Duran, the center over there, the young center. I mean, 2 young players, both coming into their own. The team has suffocating defense, and I've got them going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think it's going to be close. But the Celtics win out because of the experience, the pedigree, the top end talent, and the combination of offense and defense. I just don't see. I wouldn't be shocked if Detroit wins, but I just don't see anybody else putting up much of a challenge. The Knicks might win a game or 2. I don't see that matchup going to 7 against the Celtics. But yeah, so the Celtics come out of the East. The West is super intriguing, and I know you said you kind of agree with my take on Denver, largely on the strength of the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's doing is ridiculous, right? He's going back, showing our age again. He's rebounding like Rodman, and he's passing like John Stockton, maybe closer to Magic Johnson with his height, right? But it's insane stuff what he's doing. Second straight regular season averaging a triple-double. For a 7-foot center.
He's in a relatively small market compared to the rest of the NBA. I don't think that he gets enough appreciation for just how good he is.
Yep. Yeah, and he's not really flashy, right? And he doesn't even look much like an athlete. He's just a big dude. But I think his appearance does not justify his nimbleness on the court, and his vision on the court is just exceptional, just phenomenal. Right? The passes that he makes. I mean, you've got a 7-foot center making no-look passes.
There aren't too many people in the NBA who are his size have the vision. I would argue that Luka has similar vision.
He does.
To Jokic, right? I don't think that he's as good defensively as Jokic is.
Yeah. But Luka's
has to do different things.
Yeah, Luka's a 6'7" guard, right? Yeah. For him to have that vision, okay, cool. But a 6'11" or 7-foot center with that vision is just that. I don't know if we've seen that before. And he's not the only unicorn. And I know that Oklahoma City Thunder fans and SGA fans are going to cry foul here. I don't. SGA gets so many cheap calls and free throws that he's a great talent, no doubt. but I don't put him anywhere near what Wemby is in San Antonio and what Jokic is in Denver. Right? I mean, it's
He's such a totally different type of player. I, look, he draws a lot of fouls, and it irritates a lot of people around the league. Okay, like, I think if you were to get kind of some completely off the record comments from coaches, players, and execs, they would be really upset with some of the calls that he gets and the way he gets them.
Yeah, I know I am as a fan, as an analyst.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the people who play in the league and who coach the league. I think that if you get their unvarnished, unfiltered thoughts, it'd be pretty brutal on some of the things that I don't want to say he gets away with, because officials look at game tape too, right? They have to know what he's doing to draw these.
But why aren't they
fouls.
Adjusting?
It looks like apparently it's just really hard. It's kind of my beef with some of the things that happen in other sports, where I look at, like, I won't talk about them specifically. There's a couple teams in the Premier League that they commit, like, tactical fouls, all right? They really should be yellow cards, but they are somehow managing to not get yellow carded for these fouls they're calling the breakup counterattacks. And so it makes me wonder what they're doing technically to get away with that, when other teams do the same, to my eyes, the same thing, and they're getting cards, which means they can't afford to do that later in the game to break it up.
Yep.
So I don't think it's a bias thing. I think there's something he's doing that other people can't figure out, and that other people includes the refs.
All right. Well, I'm thinking that he's not going to get the overwhelmingly imbalanced favorable calls this year, which means as good as OKC. And look, this is, again, no disrespect. What their front office has done is phenomenal, right? I think. I think a lot of people don't realize they did not draft SGA. They got SGA from the Clippers in that Paul George trade. After they got Paul George from Indiana and flipped him over to the Clippers, they got SGA and, I don't know, 2 or 3 first-round picks, and another. There were a couple of players.
Yeah, talk about a poorly run franchise.
Yeah, the Clippers. They were a poorly run franchise for 35, 40 years, and then they rose to prominence for a little bit. But what they've done with Paul George and even Kawhi, and not to mention the questionable things around Kawhi and the under the table compensation and all that good stuff. It's bad over in Clipperland. But regardless, OKC's front office has put together a phenomenal process, and they actually saw it come to fruition with the championship last year. But I think a lot of it, for me, for a lot of analysts, for a lot of NBA folks, it was kind of wrapped up and packaged and hand delivered by the NBA with those questionable calls. And unless that happens, I just don't see OKC overcoming either San Antonio. And San Antonio has dominated them in the regular season this year, right? 3-1, and those 3 victories.
But the good news for OKC is that San Antonio's got to get through Denver first.
Yeah, I mean that's the best thing that could have happened for OKC when the Lakers fell to 4. Because and San Antonio kind of chose this, right?
When do you think Luka's going to get back?
It feels like he's not coming back in this series. If they get past the Rockets, I think he's got a legitimate shot at coming back. But who knows if he's close and they're down 3-1, they're down to elimination, 3-1, 3-2. Will they hurry him back for that for that win, if he's looking like he's a day or two away, probably, possibly. I know he would want to. Look, having followed him for all those years here in Dallas, it was frustrating, right? Because day in and day out, I saw that drive. I saw that competitiveness. He wanted to be out there. He wanted the ball in his hands. He wanted to do things for his team. Now, the frustration that came with it was, why isn't that, while he's got that drive and desire tactically day to day, he doesn't have that drive and desire strategically? Why is he not getting in shape and applying himself, and in the off season? So that was the frustration that came with that. But on a day-to-day basis, game to game, he's got that fire. He wants to be out there. He wants the ball in his hands. He wants to be the reason that his team wins or loses. So if it's close and they're close to elimination, I would not be surprised if he comes back sooner. But to answer your question, I think second round, if they advance.
Yep. And then he makes things. It becomes interesting to see. I don't think the Lakers can win it all this year.
Yeah,
I think they still have some building to do.
They got really hot in the last month and a half, in the last 6 weeks or so. But yeah, I just don't see. I mean, honestly, looking at the landscape, I put them as the 5th or the 6th best team in the West. Right?
Yeah.
Right in line with Minnesota, and maybe below the Rockets. Now, Durant missed that first game that the Lakers won yesterday, right? So, and I think it's not terribly serious. So if he comes back and Luka's not there and Reeves isn't there, I just don't see. Look, Luke Kennard had himself a day, and I really, when that trade happened, when they acquired Kennard, I felt that was an under the radar pick, and then I was proven wrong throughout the regular season when he didn't do anything, and here we go. Here's a spot start, and he rose to the occasion, had himself a really good game, but there's just not enough there. They're not going to be able to shoot the way they did yesterday, which got LeBron those 13 assists. That was great, but they're not going to be able to shoot like that. And if Durant's back, the Rockets are going to score more. And let me put it this way: I feel what we saw in that game between the Lakers and the Rockets, that was the worst game that the Rockets are going to have in this series. And that was the best non-Luka game that the Lakers were going to have in this series. And the Lakers won by 10-ish points. So I still see the Rockets pulling it off in 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think they're better.
All right.
It stinks because I really like Luka as a player.
Yep.
But he's not. I don't think he's going to make it to the playoffs this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take another short break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to swivel the spotlight over to the game of the exciting, the world popular game of soccer. And I'm going to turn that over to you, Shep, since you're the expert, and I know very little about the sport, but looking forward to having that discussion. I know there are a lot of exciting things going on in the world of soccer. You're going to hear that and more when we come back to the Sports Spotlight. Here's a short break.
This is Radio Azad, streaming in Dallas, Fort Worth, and all around the world.
आप सुन रहे हैं रेडियो आजाद, हम सफर, हमजाद, रेडियो आजाद.
Download the free Radio Azad app on the App Store or Google Play to listen worldwide.
Hey, bro. You want to pick up some wings tonight from Hot Pizza?
Man, are you for real? Hot Pizza? You read my mind. I'm craving their chicken tikka pizza and cheesy achari bread.
Bro, that pizza is cheesy and that cheesy bread is lit. Let's pick up your buddy Ashish. I know he'll love their hot veggie sandwiches.
Man, a fusion desi halal pizza joint with a fresh food lineup like that? I'm definitely down with the hot pizza wave.
Hot Pizza is located at 17194 Preston Road, Suite 102, Dallas. Takeout and delivery are available. Order online at hotpizzausa.menufy.com or call them at 469-399-1461. Hot Pizza is a hit pizza.
ठंडी ठंडी आइसक्रीम चॉकलेट हो या स्ट्रॉबेरी मैंगो चीकू लीची स्मूदी शेक या कुल्फी फलूदा या